If figuring out when to appropriately use commas and semicolons is one of your biggest struggles, then this is absolutely the video for you. Unless, of course, you're a devoted Kurt Vonnegut fan and want to mimic his hatred of semicolons. But that's beside the point. You might think that these two types of punctuation are basically interchangeable. You would be wrong. They're actually quite competitive, as you'll see here. Let me start off by giving you a simple definition of each. A comma is a punctuation mark indicating a pause between parts of a sentence. It is also used to separate items in a list and to mark the place of thousands in a large numeral. A semicolon, on the other hand, is a punctuation mark indicating a pause, typically between two main clauses, that is more pronounced than that indicated by a comma. Here are some examples to help clarify. You'll see here that one of the main differences between comma and semicolon usage is the use, or lack thereof, of a coordinating conjunction such as and or so. What about cases that you may see both? Some people are so afraid of misusing a semicolon that they often make the mistake of overusing commas and confusing the entire sentence. Here you'll see that both a semicolon and a comma have been used in order to combine two independent clauses using a conjunctive adverb. Here are a few rules for each type of punctuation to remember. Let's start with the semicolon. When constructing a sentence, you will use a semicolon to separate two sentences where a conjunction is left out, separate units of items already using commas, before an introductory word such as namely or however, before an introductory word that introduces a list, or between two sentences combined with a conjunction when a comma already appears in the first sentence. Now maybe you'll use semicolons more than just in winky faces over text message. Now the comma has a lot more rules, but they're fairly simple. When writing, a comma will be used to separate words or group of words in a series of 3 or more, to separate adjectives when the word and can be placed between them, in between an ly adjective and another adjective, before or around the name or title of a person, to separate the day of the month from the year, to separate the city from the state. When a sentence is interrupted by an expression, after starting a sentence with a weak clause, after beginning a sentence with a phrase of 3 or more words, surrounding a non-essential description, to separate clauses that use a coordinating conjunction, to introduce a quotation, to separate a sentence from a question, after beginning a sentence with an introductory word, or before introductory words when they are followed by a list. I bet you already knew most of those anyways, didn't you? Commas save lives. Seen here, a comma differentiates you eating your grandma from you eating with your grandma. Let's practice keeping in mind some of the rules we just learned. Let's start with this sentence. I love the semicolon. It's unnecessary, but graceful and sophisticated. Here we would add a semicolon after the word semicolon. This goes along with the rule that semicolons are placed in between two clauses that don't have a coordinating conjunction. You would place a comma after the word unnecessary because commas are placed after weak clauses as well as between clauses where a coordinating conjunction is used. What about this sentence? The real Oz, the man behind the curtain, was neither great nor powerful. The story portrays an ineffective president as a bumbling wizard. In this sentence, a comma surrounds a description of the real Oz, which is one of the rules pertaining to commas. There's also a semicolon placed after the word powerful, because the next part of the sentence is a whole separate clause. Try this one. L. Frank Baum wrote The Wizard of Oz for his daughter. Nevertheless, the book was much more than a child's story. In this example, you place a semicolon before an introductory word that starts a new clause, as well as a comma after the introductory word. Now remember, if any of these are still confusing to you, refer back to the list of rules. Okay, last example. Buddha is quoted with saying, "An insincere and evil friend is more to be feared than a wild beast. A wild beast may wound your body, but an evil friend will wound your mind." In this last sentence, we'll put a semicolon after the word beast to signal the end of that clause. After, we place a comma right before the coordinating conjunction but to separate clauses there as well. Now that you've gotten a basic knowledge of semicolons versus commas, say this with me. I will not be afraid to use a semicolon. Stop overusing commas too.